Good evening and welcome to ATV from San Jose. I'm Suad Asfour, your host. I would like to start with a couple of announcements. The first announcement I have for St. James Orthodox Church Annual Festival. On September 16, 17, and 18, Milpitas will celebrate 11th Annual Middle Eastern and Greek Food Festival. The address is 195 North Main Street, and that's across street from the public library. For more information, please visit www.sjorthodox.org and enter to win a new car. Don't miss it. My second announcement is mark your calendar for Palestine Day. Palestine Culture Day is on September the 18th at the Hall of Flower in San Francisco Golden Gate Park. Building Bridges with Palestinian American Coalition. If you are interested to volunteer and help to organize this event, please call Samer El-Bandak at 415-519-4460. Thank you and see you there. And now let me introduce to you my very special guest for this evening. I have with me Leyna Cotran. Leyna joined the AACS this year. She is a faculty member for the Computer Engineering Department at Santa Clara University and a first American generation. Leyna also has extensive industry experience and has lived dual employment for most of her career. Her parents are originally from Lebanon. Today, she will share with us her experience, both academic and industry. She will also share her experience growing up in the Bay Area as a Lebanese American. Welcome to the show, Leyna.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. That's so nice to see you.
You too.
We finally made it here.
Yes.
Good. Leyna, I would like to ask you the first question to tell us a little bit about your academic life, and then we'll move into your industrial life and tell us everything you would like us to hear about you, and also a little bit about your childhood.
So I did my bachelor's in computer science at Purdue University in Indiana. So I'm originally from the Bay Area and I moved away for college. I came back to the Bay Area and I did my master's in software engineering at Santa Clara University. And while I was a student at Santa Clara, I was actually working in industry. So I was a graduate student and I was a software engineer at a large defense contractor in the Bay Area. After I finished my master's, I moved on to do my PhD at UC Irvine, and I actually commuted for almost 8 years. So I commuted from the Bay Area to Irvine. I attended class. I would fly back and come back to work, and I would go back and go back to school. So
same day you would fly back and forth?
Yes, I had a really crazy schedule for a long time.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is, definitely. And at one point, my company actually put me on a project in Los Angeles for a couple of years. So I would fly during the week, attend school, go to work, fly back. So I was doing a lot of travel. And I finally finished my PhD in 2013.
Wow,
yeah.
That's good. That's amazing for a young woman like you, your age. You achieved PhD at early age.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good. That's a lot of hard work.
Definitely. It was a lot of travel, but you know, a very interesting experience. And I think the friends I made in graduate school was the best friends that I have. You know, we were all doing our PhD. We all had similar topics, so we really bonded over that. But I continued to work, and finally in 2015, I left industry for a year and I became a faculty member at Santa Clara University. So I was a full-time lecturer. I had about 5 classes a term. I had both courses in undergraduate and graduate, and I taught mostly in the areas of programming and software engineering, but it was a really good experience to be there for the year.
Okay, so you were teaching and you were studying and you were working.
Yes.
And you were commuting to
Irvine, yes.
Los Angeles.
Yes.
And that's all in one time, at
all
the
in
same
one time. Yeah, varying times throughout the week. So definitely life was very busy. You know, at times I was doing projects for work, other times I was doing research. One of the really nice things, actually, when I was doing my doctorate is that my validation studies, one of them I actually did with my company. And the other validation study I did with my students. So I found a way to sort of bring everything together so that I was, basically taking the lessons I had learned in academia and trying to apply it to what I had done in industry. So I did one of my studies, and then when I started teaching at Santa Clara in 2011, actually my dissertation work, I had turned it into a course, and my students basically used my dissertation work in the classroom, and that became my one of my validation studies for my PhD. So it was really nice to kind of be able to put industry into academia and academia into industry with my experience. I really enjoyed that a lot.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
That is amazing. So what was the advantage of dual experience in both academic and industry at the same time?
I think there's a very great advantage of having industry experience, maybe even prior to doing a PhD, because for me, my PhD topic was shaped on the work that I was doing at Lead. Because I was able to see real problems, see areas that needed improvement, it kind of shaped what kind of area I wanted to look at in my PhD. And then I got to carry that through all the years that I had worked at and been working on my PhD. So it was good to bridge the two together. I think when you're just doing academia and you don't have some of the industry experience, it's not as great, just because academia is it's very specific to maybe a specific lab or a specific experiment that you're doing, but not necessarily something that's practical. So to be able to validate my work in industry actually made it, I think, stronger.
So how is this experience unique, during doctorate?
It's unique in the sense that most PhD students are doing their PhD full-time. They're on the campus full-time. And for me, I spent only portions of my week on campus and then portions of my week at work, and still had to do both full-time. And then on top of that, I did get to publish, I did get to travel to conferences, but I was always kind of limited with where I was work-wise. So it was a very interesting experience, I think, to do both. I don't regret it. I would do it again just like that. But as a result, it took longer. So most PhD students take 3 to 5 years to finish, some maybe 6, but in my case it took me 8 because I was working full-time and I was doing in school full-time, and it took me a while to kind of shape my topic based on my work experience. The other thing I wanted to add is if you have too much industry experience, it can also influence, not in a great way, your topic, because you're so used to what you've done in industry that you think that's the way to do things. And part of academia is to discover and probe what's out there and what hasn't been solved yet. So I think in some ways having too much industry and then trying to go into academia could be almost at a disadvantage.
Yeah, and I understand you also had a baby during all this time you've been doing it.
I did. I spent most of my pregnancy writing my dissertation.
Wow.
So I was continuing to fly back and forth, and I think I defended in April, I graduated in June, and then she was born in August. So I had a lot going on at that time.
And how old is she now?
Today's her birthday. She turned 3.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Her name is Farah, right?
Yes.
Happy birthday to Farah.
Thank you.
So now I'd like to ask you about your experience in the classroom or lecture.
Yes.
I understand you are a professor in Santa Clara University.
Yes.
So we want to know more about that.
So I mostly teach in the graduate school, which is a great experience because the students, they're there to learn. They want to take what they've learned into industry. They're already very advanced. They already have done their undergraduate. So the style of the class is very much a discussion-based. So usually I will lecture for the first half of the class, and I've moved away from doing lectures in PowerPoint. I used to do a lot of PowerPoint presentations. Now I handwrite everything on the board, and I color code. So my black are my concepts, the black color, and green is my code. So I actually write code on the board, and usually then I'll demo some of my code, on the projector. But then I do a class activity, and we do a lot of discussion based on the class activity, and it's usually based on the lecture I have provided. Sometimes my courses can be 4 hours long. So this summer I'm teaching a course on Mondays that's 5 to 9 p.m. And so I'll usually lecture the first 2 hours, we do a class activity, and then we wrap up with discussion. But during the general school year, I'm usually doing maybe 2 nights a week for 2 hours. So I do a lot of writing assignments. I think it's important to articulate technical concepts. And You know, it's a very engaging time with the students. I like to see them move around in the classroom and do things on the board and model.
Wow, I'm so amazed with everything you do, and I'm also very proud of you. You are a first Arab American generation. And so what made you choose science engineering?
I think some of it was a pretty big influence from my parents. Both of them are in the tech field. My father is in the security field now, and my mom is in chemistry. So I think science was always part of my growing up. Most of the time we would be doing a lot of math problems or a lot of things on the computer that was math-based. Usually my dad would have me work on that. So I think it was sort of natural and not surprising that I ended up picking an engineering major. And my brother also did computer science, so all four of us are in the tech field.
So that's amazing, and I can see that looks like you have high achievers in your family. So was your dad also high achiever? And I know your mom was a teacher.
Yeah, she did, I think, when she was in graduate school. So my dad also has a PhD. I think that was a big influence as well, you know, in a good way, of course.
So is it the whole family high achievers like that? His dad and maybe all his brothers?
Yes, absolutely. My grandfather, most of my family went to AUB, actually. So
wow.
Even my grandfather. And my grandfather and my father had a background in civil engineering. Mm-hmm. But my dad came into the computer science and software engineering industry around, I'd say, the late 80s, early 90s. So I grew up around technology, and I grew up around computer type of things. So I think it became not surprising when I picked computer science as a major.
Oh, I see. I can see that you are very hardworking, and I can see that you are on a high level of achievement and education in general. So when you were in school with other students or maybe next to your friends, how did you feel? Did you manage to get along with everybody since you are on a higher level, you know, thinking-wise and more into education?
I did. The friends that I had in graduate school were totally phenomenal and were high achievers as well. So we were always a big intellectual powerhouse, and we used to collaborate a lot on papers, and we would collaborate on ideas. A lot of the times, things that I published or wrote, I usually ran by them as well. I would say the biggest learning experience came from the colleagues that I had. Some of them turned out to be professors themselves, so we share sometimes some ideas of teaching. Some went into industry, some have started their own companies, so it was great to be around such strong intellectual people at the time.
What about the dual multiple culture, you know, living the Arabic way in the house, your parents from Lebanon, and you know, I see like first generation, they reject sticking to the, you know, to our culture basically. How was that for you? Did you refuse it, or were you you observe it and you kept going no matter what? It did not hurt you in any way?
I absolutely embraced the culture I grew up in. I love the Arab culture. I definitely love the Lebanese culture. When I was at Purdue, I actually joined the Arab American organization, so I was definitely involved with a lot of Arab activities. We used to do parties and shows to teach others about the Arab culture. I think it was really good, actually, because I know I'm a reflection of the family I came from. And with both my parents being in the tech field, I knew that I would align with that, you know, very, very easily and very happily. So usually our dinner conversation is around technical stuff.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that it did not hurt you at all.
No, it was wonderful.
During your school years.
Absolutely. And I always was very proud to be Lebanese and would always try to share what I knew about the culture, usually related around food and music.
You like the food and the music.
Definitely, definitely. And I've traveled to Lebanon a few times with my parents. I really enjoyed going, and I still have family there. So it's a very big part of my life.
Good opportunity.
Yes.
To go visit.
Yes.
So what's your favorite song?
I absolutely love Amr Diab.
Diab?
Yeah, and I think his song Amarain is by him.
Okay.
It is so nice.
That's nice.
And when I was in Purdue, which is in the middle of Indiana, even though there was a very large Arab organization, there was a lot of other, mostly kind of American culture. But as the Arab organization, we used to try to bring parties and dance shows so that people could become more aware of the Arab culture. When I was at Purdue around the time, this is when 9/11 happened, so it definitely shook up the campus quite a lot. But I would say by the end of my college years, I still stayed in the organization and still wanted to raise awareness and good things about the Arab community.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I heard that you did a project for United Nations as an interpreter.
I did. It was for NATO, and I was a French interpreter for NATO.
Okay, so you also speak French?
I do. I speak French.
Arabic, French, and English. Any other languages you speak?
No, that's it. Those are the three.
Okay, so tell us about your experience with the NATO.
It was so fun. My job was to basically translate because one of the primary languages for the NATO organization is both French and I think also maybe it's Belgium. Yes, so it's two primary languages, but I actually was the translator for the French portion. I did everything from checking passports, checking people in, translating some presentations. It was very fun to kind of take a step away from doing some of the technical work and doing something that's a little bit more language-based. I enjoyed that a lot, and I've been trying to keep up with the French, you know, in my everyday life. I try to read some French every day, whether it's on the news or on the web. So it's definitely a big part of I think also being Lebanese, because a lot of Lebanese people do speak French.
So how did you learn French?
My parents sent me to a French school in Palo Alto when I was a child, and then when I left that system and moved into the American system here, I actually took private lessons in French for a really long time, maybe up till high school. And then I continued in advanced French through high school, and then in college I actually minored in it. I almost did a major in French, but I decided I would have stayed longer, and I wanted to come back home after finishing college. I didn't want to stay an extra year, so I opted to just minor in French, so I kept up with it.
That is amazing. So you think it's a good idea to also learn French in this country, even though you grew up in the Bay Area?
Yes, I know Spanish is the primary language here, and a lot of schools now are teaching Chinese, but I think knowing French is a very important language. They're still a big part of everyday news, and I think it's a beautiful language as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I also heard that you went on a trip to Italy.
I did.
What was that about?
So I published a paper in 2011. It was a slim version of my dissertation topic, and the paper got into the IEEE Requirements Engineering Conference. So I traveled with my advisor, and we went to Trento, Italy for a week. And Trento is this small city that's on the border of Italy and Germany, so you can actually see the Alps from Trento. And I got to present my work, which was very exciting. And it's out there on the IEEE Explorer website, so it was a really big achievement to get to go.
Wow.
And once the conference was over, I took a few more days and sort of toured around Milan, which is the next major city next to Trento, and I had a great time. I was by myself, but it was a lot of fun.
So what other plans coming up for you on the traveling?
On the traveling, I hope next year to go to Lebanon. I didn't go this year because I'm teaching a course in the summer, so I hope next year that I'll get to go and visit my family and see everybody again.
So I can see that instructor or teaching in your family is very strong, and you taught like 6 courses in a year.
Yes, well, yes, and 9 courses in a year. Yeah, so 9. I did about 3 to 5 each term. It kind of depended on the quarter, but yeah, I did 9
so
in a year.
What's the secret to be like that?
Oh, the secret is definitely to manage time. And one of the things I would say about teaching is, you know, in a given quarter, I had maybe about 100 students between all my classes. And so as a professor, you're literally in a relationship with 100 people. And so hearing their needs, and you know, some of them can be really upset about their grades, or some of them can be really overly excited. You know, you just have to manage all these relationships, and you have to manage the relationship that you have in the department with your colleagues, and so it's very complex. But you just kind of take it one day at a time. And on given days, it could be 1 hour at a time, you know, having constant appointments. But it's basically a time management, I think, more than anything. And you still have to find time to class prep. And there are, you know, department service requirements as well. So I did a couple of those this year. So it's just a big aspect of it is mostly time management.
Wow, that's great. Any complication that Arab American woman faces during her years of education? What did you face? What was it you went through?
I think for me, some of it was you go into a room, you're with engineers, and you could be the only woman, and then to be the only woman, and then to also be an Arab woman, it's very lovely actually to be in a position like this. And I've met a few in my life, other Arab engineers, and they're brilliant and smart, and so it's nice to have that kind of difference in the room. So I think there's both the aspect of being a woman, there's an aspect of being Arab, but I just own it. I just say this is who I am, and there's a big cultural aspect that comes with me as well.
Wow,
yeah.
That's amazing. And as a young mom and a young professional, what advice do you give to anybody your age, somebody who is Arab American, first generation, and they are going through what you're going through right now, dealing with family and profession, and manage to handle everything properly? What is the secret for that?
I think there's two things. I think one is to always speak your mind and say where you're at, how you feel about things and, what you need. And then I think the second is always remember that, your family is support. And as long as you have that support, you can perform and do anything at any job. And I think I definitely have both. I have a family who's supportive, a family who definitely, encourages me to do the kind of work that I do. They're very happy and very proud of me, which of course feels great. And they're supportive of my dreams and my achievements in life and what I want to accomplish. So speaking your mind, definitely, and then always seeking the support, I think, are the two big things that would be my advice.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What about advice to the parents who have teenagers as a first generation and they're going through confusion? What do you tell these parents?
I tell them that in the end, any conflicts that happen at home, whether it's your parents want one thing and you want something else, it's always for the good of you, one way or another. And I always listened to what my parents had to tell me. I thought their advice was always sound. So I think, again, speaking your mind, saying what it is that you need, but being articulate about it is the way to kind of grow and as well to accomplish what you're looking for. And I think from all the parents that I've ever met, young kids who are looking to where are they going to go to college, what are they going to do, all of them want to see their kids happy and they're supportive. So I always try to encourage that for any of the students that I mentor and guide.
What do you recommend for all the students to take, when they first graduate from high school to get ready for college? Like leadership classes or something like that? I
think a well-rounded course is good. So definitely some liberal arts. I mean, something like theater or music, just something to expand your mind. I always encourage mathematical and engineering courses. Most universities offer very entry-level beginning programming courses, and I think everybody should at least embrace the skill and try to learn a little bit of programming in their life. And there's so many languages that are out there, some that are easier than others, but I think it's good for everybody to at least dabble in it once, in their college career, or at least understand what it really entails.
Any other education on your list that you want to try still to achieve in addition to everything you took?
The one big thing I'd like to do is I am working on a technical book, and I've been working on one for a while, and I have a working manuscript, and I'm hoping to someday to be able to actually publish that. And it's kind of a tangent a little bit to the dissertation work that I did at UC Irvine. So I would like to get a book out there if I can. That's one of my goals in my life.
Oh, wow, that would be amazing. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And good luck to you.
Thank you.
About the Arab Culture Center in San Jose, we're going to be adding many classes in the fall.
Yes.
Like ESL and other classes. What do you recommend that we are in need for? What do we need to add?
I would love to see a computer science course offered. I would love to see maybe an intro to C or an intro to HTML. That's a web-based language brought into the community. It would be, I think, very good for people to learn a programming skill. I think at times programming looks pretty intimidating, but once you get the hang of it and practice, it feels really good to compile programs and see some output on the screen. So I would love to see that for our community.
And will you be willing to teach it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would be very happy to do a computer science course for the community.
That's good. So this is in for our plan. I hope the president and the board of trustees will hear you today and will take it into consideration. And this is also good for the people who watch us tonight. They can tell their family and friends and all the students in the family to come and look into it. Yeah. So they can access our website as Arab American Culture Center in the Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
It's so nice to know and be proud of Arab American women who achieve this much high education.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And hope to see you soon. I also want to thank your mom, Nawal Cotran, who is also the treasurer for the Arab Culture Center in San Jose, and for all the people who's been helping to sponsor this program and keep us on air.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Good night.